Hello, welcome back to my channel, and if this is your first time coming, welcome. I'm Rickety Wren. If you like this video, don't forget to leave a thumbs up and hit the subscribe button for more videos from me. Today I'd like to talk about the movie Leaving Neverland that aired on HBO this past weekend. It's about Michael Jackson's alleged victims coming together and basically doing a documentary or like a interview type documentary, and it sparked a lot of controversy, and it's a very serious topic. So I'd like to talk about what I think the documentary got right, or what they did right, and what they did wrong, and then I'm gonna give my opinion on the situation based on what they presented in the documentary. So one thing that they did get right, they were able to make Jimmy Safechuck and Wade Robson really sympathetic. You get the feeling that these people are actually distraught because they're dealing with traumas from their childhood, or they're dealing with some sort of trauma. We are able to see that right away. Another thing that I think the filmmakers did right was they were able to spark a lot of conversation around the way we deal with celebrities and how we feel about celebrities, especially musicians, when we find out something like a dark secret or something that someone else alleged against them, like how we as the public really deal with that. The Corey Feldman called them out on Twitter, saying that the movie was one-sided. They only interviewed two people who were kids at Neverland Ranch and who had a negative experience with, or who claim to have a negative experience with Michael Jackson. In Corey Feldman's eyes, they should have interviewed more of the kids who were at Neverland Ranch and see like some sort of balance to it, because according to Corey, he never experienced any sort of perversion from Michael Jackson towards him or any other of the other children. However, that's not necessarily fair to cast that judgment onto the filmmakers, because they did have Wade Robson's sister who was a part of the documentary, and she did talk about her experience, and she never in a million years expected that even her brother would come forward and say that he was molested by Michael Jackson, because she was there and she never experienced anything of the such. So her experience was more like Corey's, where they never saw any sort of perversion from Michael Jackson. However, she was in the documentary, so for Corey to completely say that the movie was one-sided, it's not necessarily fair. In defense of the documentarians, the documentary is not actually investigative film. It's supposed to be a tell-all, so it makes sense that it would be somewhat one-sided, and it would mainly focus on the two people who were alleged that something happened to them. Onto a longer list of things that I think the filmmakers did wrong. They kept bringing up information that was just not necessary to the story. They kept bringing up Wade Robson's family life and the issues that were going on between Wade's mom and his father. And I felt like that had nothing to do with Michael Jackson, but they found a way to sort of pin that blame onto him. They're saying, oh, you ruined my family, you caused my dad's death because of the depression and everything. And sort of like they're saying anything that happened to these men who were boys at the time, anything that happened to their lives were somehow indirectly connected to Michael Jackson, and that it's his fault. Another thing that the filmmaker did that was inappropriate, in my opinion, was the way they tried to infer that Michael Jackson molested Macaulay Culkin, and Macaulay Culkin is just one of his other alleged victims, and they're he's hiding it just the way that Wade Robson and Jimmy Safechuck is. And I feel like that's unfair to Macaulay Culkin, because if he is actually a victim in some way, that's up to him to deal with it how he wants to deal with it. If he wants to deal with it in the public, that should be up to him. He should not have to come out and somehow defend himself or defend Michael Jackson in this case, where he has to be like, if he was, it's very unfortunate. And I feel like it's just a way for the movie to try and say, hey, you need to come out and back these guys up just the way that they should have backed up the other guys. And I feel like it's very inappropriate on their part to try to somehow force something out of someone who they're basically alleging to be a victim. Or the way they set up the conversation around Macaulay Culkin is as if they're saying, yeah, we know you were molested too, so you should come out and talk about it. And like, that's not their responsibility to like push this onto someone like Macaulay Culkin. If he was there and he actually was molested, that is up to him to deal with that situation however he wants to deal with the situation. That's not the filmmaker's place to somehow push him towards saying anything negative or positive about Michael Jackson. Another problem that I have with the movie is the fact that Michael Jackson is dead. He cannot defend himself in this situation. And he was able to defend himself in court against another one of his alleged victims. And the fact that Wade Robson and Jimmy Safechuck were also present to defend him at those times is kind of, it gives a lot of people a moment where they're just like, hold up now. So they defended him before, and they said that he never molested them in any way, never touched them, never did anything inappropriate. In the court of law, they defended him. However, now they're coming out and they're saying that he did. So that sort of thing kind of is the reason why a lot of people are not 100% believing Jimmy Safechuck and Wade Robson. The movie kind of glossed over the fact that people don't really trust them because of that. They kind of like, yeah, we said that he was innocent, but here's our actual situation and our actual story, even though we testified multiple times that he never touched us. It's like this thing that they kept pushing. They're like, Michael Jackson didn't like women, and he kept talking, he has negative thoughts about women. And I'm just like, this doesn't really have anything to do with the story, but I understand you're trying to paint him as a villain. And right now, one of the easiest way to paint a man as a villain is to talk about their misogyny or their or some sort of toxic behavior that they have towards women. So in a way, they're sort of, that's their way of saying, hey, Me Too movement, we were involved in something similar to what you're talking about, and here you go, this person didn't like women, so now you're supposed to feel sympathy for me because he doesn't like women. That mean that, you know, he would probably do the same to women. Like, that's what the movie was also doing, and I feel like that is very wrong and inappropriate to try and bait women into automatically siding with these characters or with these people. Well, my opinion on the whole thing, people are saying, do you believe that Michael Jackson did this? Do you believe that Michael Jackson did that? What do you think? And based off this documentary, I'm still in the position where I do not know. This documentary did not help me figure out more if Michael Jackson is guilty or not guilty. I felt like they set out to somehow prove that. They were making it out to seem like they have evidence. But like I said, it wasn't an investigative documentary. It was mainly a tell-all, or just a confession piece. The past few big documentaries that we're talking about, like we're talking about the R. Kelly documentaries, we're talking about Abducted in Plain Sight, and now we're talking about Leaving Neverland. There's just this theme of parents making these bad decisions to allow their children to like sleep with men, like with grown men. I don't understand what's going on. In Abducted in Plain Sight, we see the same thing where the parents just allow this man to come in and sleep in their daughter's bed. And now here, these parents are talking about the different times when they're like, oh yeah, we're on tour with Michael, and yeah, he was in his, and him and Jimmy had their room. That's, I'm like, wait. So you're in a hotel with your child and you're on tour. No matter how innocent you think a person is, it still doesn't make any sense that you have your child sleeping in the same room, same bed with this adult person. It just doesn't make any sense. And for them to talk about how, yeah, we just met him, we were there for the weekend and we were leaving, and Wade said that he didn't want to go with us to the Grand Canyon, so we left him with Michael for a week. I'm like, say what now? You did what? You left your 7-year-old child with an adult that you've known for 2 days. Like, how are these parents making these decisions and not seeing any problem with it? Like, there is so much irresponsibility on the part of the parents, and like I'm baffled by how irresponsible a lot of parents are. I'm not blaming them. If these men are telling the truth that when they were boys they were molested by Michael Jackson, if they're telling the truth, I'm not blaming their parents for anything that happened to them. However, their parents' irresponsibility led to something happening to them. And that's so unfortunate. At the end of the film, they have the men talk about how they feel towards their parents and how they feel in general. And you see they do somewhat blame them for the things that transpired, because they felt like they would never allow their children to be in a situation like their parents allow them to be. I'm skeptical of both sides. I can see where people will question the motives of these alleged victims, simply because at one point they said no, nothing happened, and now they're changing their story. They're saying yes, something did happen, and because of that I've had a lot of emotional problems. I've had to deal with a lot of trauma, and I'm also on the side where I'm just like, I don't know. And I guess part of it is that I don't want to necessarily believe that Michael Jackson had that dark side to him. Of course, it left me a little bit skeptical on both parts. I don't know. I cannot say that I believe, because of this movie, I 100% believe that Michael Jackson was a pedophile or that he was a molester. I can't say that 100%. And I can't say 100% that I completely believe everything that these men were saying in the documentary, but I cannot discredit or disqualify their feelings. There are not a lot of damning physical evidence, and I feel like that's what's needed in this situation to set the whole thing straight. Is just, we need some damning physical evidence. This is undeniable. Like, here You're the evidence. This is it. Instead of he said, she said, because that hasn't worked for the past 30 years. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And if you have anything to say in regards to what I've said about leaving Neverland, go right ahead and leave it down in the comment section. I would love to see what you guys think about what I'm saying, or what you felt about how the movie displayed the whole situation, and how do you feel? I'm really curious. How do you feel? Let me know down in the comment section. Once again, thank you for watching. Have a fantastic day.